New league year will be starting in just a month. March 13th.
Oh, so soon.
Yeah,
Love
already.
it.
Isn't that crazy? March 13th, free agency opens up. The salary cap will be increasing like it always does, and it will be a big spending spree.
Yeah.
Today, what we're going to do is we're going to discuss the top 5 free agent wide receivers. Wide receivers make bank. Today, we're going to discuss briefly Tee Higgins, Michael Pittman Jr., Mike Evans, Hollywood Brown, and Calvin Ridley. So, first up, guys, let's talk about Tee Higgins, 24 years old, 4-year vet. This past season, he played in 12 games, 42 receptions, 656 yards, 5 touchdowns. Obviously, he was injured. Joe Burrow was injured. So, I don't think those numbers really speak to who he is. But in the offseason, his projected value, the projected value of the contract he will sign will be 4 years, $66.3 million with 16 and a half guaranteed. He's projected to sign the tag, but a lot of these guys today, they don't want the tag. So ultimately, again, he's projected to sign a 4-year, $66.3 million contract. Where? We don't know. But what do you guys think about Tee Higgins going into the off season? Yeah, Will.
Okay, I was just going to give you all real quick as we start this discussion the teams with the most cap space going into this offseason. So number 1 is the Commanders with 73 million, Titans at 71 million, Texans with 69 million, Patriots, Colts, Bengals, Lions, Buccaneers, Bears, Cardinals. So those are the top, whatever it was, 9, 10. The Bengals have 59 million in cap space.
Yes.
The challenge is they need to pay
You got to pay
Jamar
Jamar Chase.
probably now. I don't think he's going to want to wait another year and play on his rookie deal another year. So I think they have to pay Jamar, give him something long-term now. And then my prediction is that Tee Higgins will get the tag, although I would love to see him go somewhere else and be a wide receiver 1. Like, I imagine Tee Higgins on the Texans, and then you've got Nico Collins and Tank Dell rounding out the top 3. That would be
Be
amazing.
nice.
But there's no way the Bengals let him walk while they have Burrow and Chase all in their prime, maybe one more good year out of Joe Mixon. Like, this is the final year probably with this core for a Super Bowl push. They're going to tag him, and I predict
Yeah,
he'll
I think they'll
sign.
tag him
That's what
because
I'll
the
guess.
reality is what you said about Jamar is a good point. However, if I'm Jamar, I'm not signing anything until Justin Jefferson gets signed because Justin Jefferson is going to sign a big contract.
Reset the
He's going to
market.
reset the market. And we all know Jamar. We all know what Jamar Chase can do when he's on the field. Tee Higgins, it's so interesting because he's a true X receiver. He's a jump ball guy. He can win the one-on-ones, put him on the outside. A lot of teams need someone like that, especially as we're seeing a lot of these smaller guys come into the league. So I think his value is high. I'm surprised with his I'm surprised that his projected value is only 66.3 million. His yards per route run was 1.66. His average depth of target was 13.1. His yards after the catch was 5.6. The guy can play, but I do think he'll stay in Cincinnati for at least another year. But I think you're right. If we were to see him go somewhere like Houston, Lord have mercy.
That'd be beautiful.
That'd be amazing. I would hate to see him go somewhere like Carolina. Like, do not chase the money.
No,
Mm.
don't do that.
I think T. Higgins. Okay, number one, the Bengals they're not letting him go. They're going to tag him and keep him. He's going to play in the franchise tag. The ball is in the court of the teams when you franchise tag the player. There's literally nothing the player can do. Like, there's nothing they can do unless. So that's one. Number two, even if he leaves, I don't. And I've said this before. T. Higgins is not a number 1 receiver. He's not. He's not a receiver that will take your team to the next level. For example, if he goes to the Houston, I think Nicole Collins is better than him. In fact, Dale is better than him. Yes, he's a big guy, so they won't have a need for him in Houston. He's a solid top tier receiver number 2, and that's why I'm not surprised. People are estimating what his contract would be as that because obviously they don't see him as a number 1 as well. The one team that you can go and become a true number 1 is New England. obviously anybody can be a number one there. There's very few teams he can go to. If he goes to what's it called, Kansas City, I think Rashid Rice might be better than him, to be honest. Except Rashid Rice, he'd probably be a better X. If he goes, they're just not. He's not to me. If we try to name off top 10 receivers, T Higgins doesn't make it there.
I think Tee Higgins, he's interesting because I think he's what Mike Williams was supposed to be, like a healthy version of Mike Williams. Like he's an outside.
Healthy version of Mike Williams is dangerous. That's it.
But anyways, what were you going to say, Ross? Did you want to say something? Then we're going to move on to the next guy.
I was going to say, I think best case scenario in my mind is if Caleb Williams is going to hit his ceiling, he gets drafted by Chicago. You get DJ Moore, Tee Higgins there. They complement each other really well, and it gives Caleb Williams an ability to hit his ceiling in year one. I think Chicago should overpay, get Tee Higgins, and if that means a tag and trade, let Cincy tag him, give that extra first you got, and get Tee Higgins. Do it.
So if he goes, I can see Tee Higgins being a top. If he goes somewhere and he's paid to be a number one receiver, I do think he's a top 15 receiver in the league.
15. Yeah, 15 is like, but if you're a top 15 receiver, that's not saying much though, to be honest. To be a top 15.
We see guys go somewhere and sign somewhere else. Like DJ Moore left Carolina, went to Chicago. Stephon Diggs left Minnesota, went to Buffalo.
Yeah, Diggs is the big
AJ
one.
Brown left Tennessee, went to Philly.
Tyreek Hill
left Kansas City. And you see these free agents when they go somewhere, the team signing them says, we are going to make you that dude. Like, we're going to make you that guy. But you know what? Let's move on because we're talking about a bunch of free agents. So any one of these guys could fall into that category. But Michael Pittman Jr., another 4-year vet, 26 years old, played in 16 games, 109 receptions, 1,152 yards, 4 touchdowns. His projected value is actually greater than that of Tee Higgins. His projected value is 4 years at $90.8 million. That's a lot of money. That is a lot of money. What are you guys' thoughts on Michael Pittman Jr.? Yeah, Shed.
So last year he was wide receiver number 14. Surprisingly, I mean, he had a good year. He had a quiet good year last year, right? I mean, he produced a lot. I was thinking that if the Chargers are willing to do it, because they're going to move off of Mike Williams, right? They need to move off of Mike Williams and replace and Quentin Johnson.
Forget it.
Ain't the guy.
He's terrible.
Keenan Allen's getting older, so this would be a great opportunity for them to bring in Pittman Jr. He would be a great fit with under Harbaugh, with Herbert. This would be a good landing spot for him to go. They need somebody for the future. He's a young guy, and he can replace Quentin Johnson, who isn't producing. So I see San Diego or LA Chargers making that move, and this being a good spot for him to land.
I don't know how the Chargers could afford to bring anybody in. They are currently over the cap by $45 million. So to think of them making a splash for a guy like Michael Pittman Jr., whose projected value is 4 years for $90 million, I don't see that happening. They're going to have to cut one of their receivers just to be able to play football next year. So
that's why they're connected to so many people in draft early, because they're drafting them rather than paying them.
And the interesting thing about Michael Pittman is his average depth of target is 7.9 yards. So he's a big guy, but he's used close to the line of scrimmage. I don't know if that's because of the poor quarterback play he's played with for the last 3 years, but I could see Indianapolis paying him. I mean, the reality is you got Anthony Richardson on a rookie deal. You want to get the guy a receiver, and why not keep a guy who was already there? Pay the man,
That's what they should do, because you're not going to go into this season with Alec Pierce and Josh Downs as your two guys. And they don't have a first rounder early enough to get one of these top 3 or 4 guys. I have one though for Michael Pittman. What about the Lions?
No.
tons of cap space. They have been shown to be very aggressive in the offseason. I could absolutely see them making a play
Why would the
for
Lions
Michael
do that?
Pittman. Because they don't have a second receiver. It's not going to be Josh Reynolds. It's not Jameson Williams.
Jameson Williams.
Jameson Williams he's great down the field, but Amon-Ra St. Brown is that mid-range guy.
I don't think
Jameson Williams is not
No, he's
a
not that guy, but
reliable
he's the guy that's
receiver.
stretching the field, but Amon-Ra is great for mid-range. I don't think
Yeah, they already got two pass catchers with Laporta and St. Brown.
And
I don't know
Laporta.
if they'll spend.
And it still wasn't enough.
Well,
Enough. The Lions, their moment is right now. Okay, all of these rookie contracts on both sides of the ball. This is their moment. They have the cap space. I could absolutely see them being aggressive for a top-tier wide receiver. Yes, no doubt about it.
A good landing spot for Micah Pittman is actually the Patriots. Actually, a good landing spot for him, especially the way he
If
plays.
they get Jaden Daniels, you're predicting at quarterback.
Yeah, and also I feel like Pittman is also in the same level as I put Higgins. I cannot unsee when he was playing the Bucks and he was downfield one-on-one, 50-50 jump ball with Antoine Winfield, who's only 5'9", and Antoine Winfield won the 50-50 jump ball over a 6'4" Pittman. So for me, I was like, I can't unsee that. But he's a solid receiver in the league, nonetheless. Solid receiver, and he will move the chains. He'll be a really good player on a team that can utilize his skill set, especially if he's a number 2. Even better for him.
Let's keep it going. These next 3 guys are very interesting. Mike Williams, 30-year-old.
Mike Evans.
What's that?
Mike Evans.
Sorry. Mike Evans, 30-year-old receiver, 10-year vet. Now, we all know how incredible it's been that he has gotten 1,000 yards every season. Last season, 17 games, 79 receptions, 1,255 yards, 13 touchdowns. His projected value is a 4-year, $96.3 million. You might be thinking to yourself, that's absurd. He's 30 years old. But we literally just saw Davante Adams do pretty much the same thing just last year when he signed with Las Vegas. But go ahead, Ross. You want to jump in first?
Yeah, I was going to say, I honestly think that Tampa Bay ought to cut Chris Godwin because he actually has a contract out this year that you could take advantage of. And I think Mike Evans is the one who stirs the drink there. You don't want to let Mike Evans go, although I think they will. If they do, Mike Evans is a perfect complement to what the Kansas City Chiefs have going on with Rashee Rice and with Travis Kelce aging a little bit. You bring in him, you draft a receiver, and you have a nice receiver room that's dependable, reliable. Maybe that 10% drop rate that we were having, maybe that drops a little bit. Now, I don't think the league will let this happen, but I can dream about it.
Hey, if the league let Philadelphia create a dream team back in 2011, this is why we have a salary cap. Olu, what do you want to say, man? You're a Mike Evans fan.
So in terms of drop rate, Mike Evans was dropping the ball a lot, just saying that. But in terms of going to Kansas City, my Lord, Mahomes might score 60 touchdowns with Mike Evans. Once they get to the red zone, they're going to score. Like, he will score 60 touchdowns with Mike Evans. So I hope he doesn't go there. I definitely could see Mike Evans being an amazing addition with the Texans. He will be like the veteran in the room of the young pass catchers and the safety blanket of, I think he really will fit with just the play style of C.J. Stroud. C.J. Stroud loves to go deep. He loves to, he's very accurate with that as well. So I think he'll be a really, really good addition. But the Tampa Bay would be silly to let him out that building.
Even at 30 years old, his average depth of target was 14.5 yards.
Yeah.
That's pretty solid for a 10-year vet. Mm-hmm. Now, his yards after the catch were only 3.5, though. So
he's not
pretty much catching the ball and then falling down. But imagine him somewhere like Chicago. with DJ Moore. He would complement DJ Moore very well, I think, because DJ Moore likes to go down the field, get yards after the catch. Mike Evans catches the ball, pretty much falls down. But I mean, I think that could be nasty. But I think staying in Tampa would be ideal, especially if they re-sign Baker. Yeah, Mike Evans, he's had an illustrious career, historic. Let's move on to the next guy, Hollywood Brown, 26 years old, 5-year veteran. This past season, he played 14 games, 51 yards, 574 yards, 4 touchdowns. His projected value is a 4-year, $59.5 million contract. Obviously, he did not live up to the expectations that Arizona had for him, but a lot of that could also be because Kyler Murray, his college teammate, was injured. What do you guys think about Hollywood Brown going into next season? Obviously, he's an ex-receiver, but he's very small. At the same time, I think he's like 5'9", 180. Shed.
So here's and Will, and I need you to look this up. Buffalo's cap space. Buffalo could be an interesting place because Diggs and the Bills and Josh Allen, something was up this year. I don't know if he comes back. I don't know the salary issue, right? But they can sign Hollywood cheap for a decent wide receiver and get good production out of him. So Buffalo, I'm not sure if they'll land Hollywood, but Buffalo needs a wide receiver. We'll need a wide receiver going into this year. So one of these guys ought to land there. Hollywood seemed like he'd be a good, non-expensive, upside type of guy that could potentially not replace Diggs, but could be just somebody else for Josh Allen to throw the ball to.
So the Bills are $43 million in the red.
Okay,
that's gonna be tough to do.
So
yeah,
Bill probably not.
I think the Bills may take a receiver in the first round, like Keon Coleman out of Florida State, who's 6'4". They've never had a tall receiver with Allen. They've had all like 6 foot or less guys. I think Arizona should bring him back and then take Marvin Harrison at 4 because Kyler has trust with Hollywood.
Right.
They played together in college.
Right.
And then you get your 6'4", generational receiver at the 4th draft slot. That's going to be a beautiful thing. That would be a great offense to watch.
Yeah, and Hollywood is not.
Yeah, I think
what's wild is like he's actually not bad. Like he's better. He's football good. He's not the best fantasy, but he's a solid receiver. I think they should bring him back, to be honest. I agree with Will. But let's move on to this last guy. Probably one of the most interesting people is Calvin Ridley. He is a 29-year-old receiver finishing out his rookie contract. When in the world does that happen? It's because he came in the league older. He took a year off. Then he was suspended. This past season, 17 games, 76 yards, 76 receptions, 1,016 yards, 8 touchdowns. His projected value, 4 years, $68.2 million. Olu, you want to weigh in first?
Yeah, I think Calvin Ridley has all the talents in the world. He's one of the best route runner, in the league currently. Like he is. The one thing Calvin Ridley really needs to be a top 5, he could easily be a top 5 receiver in this league, is discipline. He needs focus and discipline. And I think that's what's really keeping him for where he ought to be. He needs a team that can really give him that. I can see him really doing good with Matt Stafford in LA. Puka, Calvin, Matt Stafford, and Cooper Kupp. That would be ultra dangerous team. Oh my gosh, can you guys even imagine that? That would be dangerous. So I feel like, and that team, and McVay can keep him on point, keep him focused. Yeah, I think that's really, and if he does that, he will easily be a top 5 NFL wide receiver.
You said he has to stay disciplined. I would say he just needs to stay off FanDuel and DraftKings, to be honest, but like exactly what I meant. Does anyone else want to say anything about Calvin Ridley at all?
Yeah, I'll jump in real fast. The age is certainly worrying. More worrying than that is how he disappears on the field for stretches of time. He was dominant early, and then Christian Kirk reasserted himself as the alpha there for some reason, when Calvin Ridley is the more talented receiver by far. And he's an illusionist. He just disappears too often for me.
Like, imagine him with the Lions, Will. What about that?
That'd be beautiful. The Lions need a second receiver. Laporta is going to be great, but they need a second reliable receiver. So if it's Ridley or if it's even Pittman, they're going to be aggressive. This is their window right now. They don't want to waste it.
The Lions' top 3 needs are defense. They could get a receiver, but I think draft and free agency will go defense.
It's going to be an exciting offseason. We're going to see what happens with these 5 guys and many more receivers. But in our next recording, we'll probably talk about running backs. There's lots of free agent running backs out there. That will be a very interesting one.